Friends, in this video, let us discuss about the budget line and how to derive the slope of the budget line. And it's a question which carries 4 marks, and that comes from chapter number 2, that is consumer behavior. Here you know that the Hicksian analysis is an improvement over Marshallian analysis. Hicksian analysis speaks of indifference curve technique, which explains how the consumer attains maximum equilibrium with the indifference curve technique. This indifference curve technique involves 2 important aspects. One, budget line, another one, indifference curve. And the consumer gets this maximum satisfaction when the budget line is tangent to the indifference curve. That we will discuss it in the next videos. Now let's understand the important concept, that is budget line. In the previous video, we have discussed about budget set. Budget set is called by other name an opportunity set, which refers to all possible combinations of 2 goods which can be consumed or purchased by a consumer with the given income and at the given prices. It involves 2 types of combinations. The combinations whose cost is equal to the income, and the combinations whose cost may be lesser than the income. That's why the formula of budget set is P1 x1 plus P2 x2 is equal to lesser than or equal to M. It may be less or it may be equal to the income of the consumer. That's about opportunity set or budget set. What is budget line? It is a graphical representation of different combinations of 2 goods whose cost is equal to the income of the consumer. It doesn't involve the combinations whose cost is lesser than the income of the consumer. That is what? So it's a graphical representation of different combinations of 2 goods whose cost is equal to the income of the consumer. Marshall speaks of single commodity model. Here, Hicks speaks of 2 commodities model. That does mean the consumer consumes 2 goods. They are the substitutes. And these substitutes, say 2 goods, they are named here according to NCERT syllabus. We were calling X and Y, but now we have to call them as commodity X1, commodity X2. Here we say commodity X1 banana, commodity X2 mango. Right? So what is budget line? Budget line is a graphical representation of different combinations of 2 goods which can be purchased by a consumer with his income at the given prices. And another important point that you should note, that the cost of these combinations is equal to the income of the consumer. That is why it is called budget constraint. He may be interested to have a combination which costs more, but he cannot go to that because these combinations are unoffordable. There is a limit for him. There is a constraint, budget constraint. He has got that much of money. He cannot go beyond that. It's unoffordable. So that point that you should keep it in your mind. Coming to the derivation of the slope of the budget line. Slope. How will be the shape of the budget line? The budget line is negatively sloping. Why it is negatively sloping? That does mean when you go for one commodity, when you increase one commodity, the consumption of one commodity, you have to sacrifice the consumption of other commodity. If you want to increase more of mangoes, you will have to lose or give up or sacrifice more of bananas. That does mean it slopes downwards negatively. More of X1 commodity, less of X2 commodity. Right? That's the thing. That is why it slopes downwards. How to understand, how to get the slope of the budget line using the equations? I told you that the equation of the budget line is this: P1 X1 plus P2 X2. That does mean the consumer is purchasing a combination of two goods, X1 commodity and X2 commodities. Say X1 bananas and X2 mangoes. So the cost, that is the price of X1 and the price of X2, is equal to income of the consumer. That is, M refers to income. P1 X1 plus P2 X2 is equal to income of the consumer, M. That is the equation number 1. And I told you that the consumer goes on substituting one commodity for another commodity. ಒಂದು ವಸ್ತುವಿಗೆ ಬದಲಾಗಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ವಸ್ತುವನ್ನು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ, ಬದಲು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಬದಲಿ ವಸ್ತುಗಳು. ಒಂದೇ ವಸ್ತುವನ್ನು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸಲ್ಲ, ಎರಡು ವಸ್ತುಗಳನ್ನು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ತಾನೆ. ಹಿಕ್ಸ್ರವರ ಪ್ರಕಾರ, ಮಾರ್ಷಲ್ರ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಒಂದು ವಸ್ತುವನ್ನು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂತ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಕ್ಸ್ರವರು ಅನುಭೋಗಿಯು ಎರಡು ಸರಕುಗಳ ಸಂಯೋಗವನ್ನು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸುತ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂತ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎರಡು ಸರಕುಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ, ಒಂದು P1 ಇನ್ನೊಂದು X1 ಮತ್ತು X2. ನಾನೀಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಗಮನಕ್ಕೆ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅನುಕೂಲಕ್ಕೆ P1 ಅಂದರೆ ಬನಾನಾ, P2 ಅಂದರೆ ಮ್ಯಾಂಗೋ, ಬಾಳೆಹಣ್ಣು, ಮಾವಿನ ಹಣ್ಣು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೆಲೆ ಇದೆ. ದೇ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಅವೈಲಬಲ್ ಫ್ರೀ ಆಫ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್. ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಪೇ ಫಾರ್ ದಟ್. ದೇ ಆರ್ economical goods. What are economic goods? For which we pay. They are praised goods. So here P1 X1 plus P2 X2 is equal to M. ಅವನ ಅನುಭೋಗಿಯ ಆದಾಯಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಸರಕುಗಳ ಬೆಲೆ ಅಥವಾ ವೆಚ್ಚ ಸಮವಾಗಿದೆ. ಇದು ಮೊದಲನೆಯ ಈಕ್ವೇಷನ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೇನೆ, ಇವನು ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ, ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. He goes on increasing one commodity, and when he goes on increasing one commodity, he has to sacrifice the other commodity. He has to lose. He has to forego. So that becomes another equation. Here P1 into X1 plus delta X1. That does mean change in X1. Change in X1 plus P2 X2 plus change in X2 commodity. Change in X, that is delta X1, delta X2. That is included here in the equation number 2 is equal to M. Right? By subtracting 1 from 2, ಒಂದನ್ನು ಎರಡನೇ ಈಕ್ವೇಷನ್ ಇಂದ, ಸೂತ್ರದಿಂದ ಕಳೆದ್ರೆ ತೆಗೆದುಬಿಡಿದ್ನ, ಯಾವನ್ನ P1 X1 P2 X2 ಅನ್ನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತೆಗೆದುಬಿಟ್ರೆ ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಗೆಟ್ P1 ಡೆಲ್ಟಾ X ಪ್ಲಸ್ P2 ಡೆಲ್ಟಾ X2 ಈಸ್ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಟು M. ಸೊ ವಿ ಗೆಟ್ ದಿ ಥರ್ಡ್ ಈಕ್ವೇಷನ್. ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, P1 ಇದನ್ನ ಒಂದನ್ನ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ ಒಂದನ್ನ 2ರಿಂದ ಕಳೀರಿ, ನಮಗೆ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ 3ನೇದು ಸಿಗ್ತದೆ. ಹಂಗೆ ಬೈ ರೀಅರೇಂಜಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ ನಂಬರ್ 3 ವಿ ಗೆಟ್ ಡೆಲ್ಟಾ x2 ಚೇಂಜ್ ಇನ್ x2 ಡಿವೈಡೆಡ್ ಬೈ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಇನ್ x1. ಬದಲಾದ x2 ಸರಕು ಅನ್ನ ಯಾವುದರಿಂದ ಭಾಗಿಸಬೇಕು? ಬದಲಾದ x1 ನಿಂದ ಭಾಗಿಸಬೇಕು. ಈಸ್ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಟು ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಡೆಲ್ಟಾ x2 divided by delta x1 is equal to minus p1. Why minus is used? It shows the inverse relationship. If you change one, there will be change in another one. That means it negatively slopes up back. Minus indicates negative sloping. Okay? Minus p1 divided by p2. Thus, the slope is minus p1 divided by p2. It means, please understand, this is very, very important. It means the budget line slopes downwards. An increase in one good, that is x1, is associated with decrease in x2. ಒಂದು ವಸ್ತುವನ್ನು ನೀವು ಒಂದು ವಸ್ತುವಿನ ಅನುಭವವನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋದರೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ವಸ್ತುವಿನ ಅನುಭವವನ್ನು ಕಡಿತಗೊಳಿಸಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತದೆ, ತ್ಯಾಗ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತದೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಸೇಸ್. ದಿಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಡಿಪಿಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ diagram. So it shows the slope of the budget line. The budget line slopes downwards because of this negative, it slopes downwards. So here x1, x2 commodity, and there will be changes. And this is shown here. This is shown here. So what you increase, you will have to lose the another commodity. You have to sacrifice another commodity. So budget line, you must understand, budget line slopes downwards. It slopes negatively. It means when you increase the consumption of one commodity, you will have to forego, sacrifice, lose other commodities. That's about budget line. Budget line indicates that the consumer has got restraint or a limit. That is why it is called budget restraint. Thank you. Meet you in the next video.